Hello everybody and welcome to Xerophobia. Tonight, since I wasted everyone's time talking about games that I hate, I decided to spice things up a bit, add a little bit of cheer to my gloom and doom channel, and talk about games that I liked. These are horror games that I have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for. Games that have left some sort of impact on me in any way, shape, or form. Yes, tonight we're going to be discussing my top 10 favorite horror games that I've ever played. Now I'm going to be doing this list a little bit differently than I did my top 10 worst horror games list. For starters, these are games that I actually enjoyed, and these games are actually really good. Also, I'm going to stick to one game per series. That way I can't just populate the list with Silent Hill games or Fatal Frame games or Resident Evil games. Makes the list process a little bit more difficult for me and hopefully a little bit more entertaining for you. So if there's a series on the list, I'm gonna pick my favorite game from the series and hopefully do a just job of explaining why I like it so much. And again, this list is purely my opinion. These aren't the best games ever by far. This is not the 10 out of 10 360 boom headshot IGN approved games list. These games are games that I enjoy. These games are games that when I played them, they left something with me. Some sort of memory, some sort of nostalgia, or they were just really good games. These are my favorite games, my opinion, my channel. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and fall into the void with... As I've said in my Fatal Frame Let's Plays, I love Japanese horror. I'm not an otaku, I'm not a fan of anime, not a fan of manga. I don't really get all into the Japanese subculture like everyone else does. But damn it all if the Japanese don't do horror like they live it each and every day. Like you wake up in Japan and you're being chased by a ghost or a Godzilla monster or something. And I'm not sure if I'm sorry for you people or I envy you guys, but keep the good entertainment coming. Now the Western release of the Grudge movie was so-so, or terrible, depending on my mood. But the Japanese release of the movie was pretty well done, like most Japanese to Western horror films. And this game takes all of its source material from the original release. And it's also a pretty good haunted house simulator. And it's also on the Wii, which is pretty rare to find a good horror game on the Wii, so you have that going for you already. The game in and of itself isn't much. I mean, it's 5 areas to explore with a flashlight, and the scares do get a little stale after a while. But really, it's just one of those games to rent and play with your friends. If you still own a Wii console, and you're not gonna get much out of it, I would suggest picking this game up and inviting a few buddies over and having a good, horrible time. The funnest part about it comes from if you have a second Wii remote. While player 1 is exploring one of the 5 areas that you have to explore to lift the family's curse, player 2 can hold the other Wii remote and trigger a random jump scare at any given time. So pick a stressful moment and scare your friends. And really, what more fun can you have at a get-together? So really, in my opinion, and the reason this game is number 10 to start off this list, is that it's fun to play with your friends. It's just a good, fun, scary time, and the game can be creepy at times. The scares do get old, as I've said. The second player triggered jump scares are pretty cheesy at best. I think there was only 1 or 2 that were actually pretty good. But if you time them right, and that's all entirely up to you, which is pretty interesting and a fun mechanic, you can get a good kick out of scaring your friends. And like I said, the game can be creepy at moments, which is a hell of a lot more than I can say for Five Nights at Freddy's. 9. Now I spent a whole lot of the last video bitching about how some of my favorite horror games have degraded in the last few years. But let's all collectively sit down and praise the works of Shinji Mikami and cast our hateful gaze not to him, but to greedy publishers like Capcom or Konami. Because if you thought the Resident Evil decline into a horrible, horrible mess was because of the creator, play Evil Within and prepare to eat those words. There's a pretty fun fact about this game for me. The game came out around the time Alien Isolation came out, and I struggled with which game to pick up first. I picked up Alien Isolation. Now look at the list these games are on, and look who's stupid because of that. Clearly I backed the wrong horse because the Evil Within was in all honesty, the Resident Evil game that I've been waiting for since I finished Resident Evil 4. You have creepy enemies, you have a creepy rural atmosphere, you have a severe lack of ammo and health pickups, you have the Keeper, you have bad voice acting, and realistically, if you're looking for a really good survival horror game to take you back to the glory days of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, this is about the closest you're going to get with a AAA release right now as of the time of this recording. So here's to you, Mr. Mikami. May you never lose your horrible spark, you twisted genius. 8. Now while I'm on the current run of console games, I would be remiss if I failed to include Until Dawn. Until Dawn was a pretty refreshing take on the old point-and-click style of horror games. And the entire butterfly effect, choices do matter mechanic of this game is what really drew me to it. Just the simple fact that you're one stupid mistake away from killing off one of your favorite characters, which leads the game into multiple endings, which gives the game tremendous amount of replayability, that's enough to get me hooked into a horror game. The story was very well crafted, and the characters were written beautifully, which is where the horror mechanic for me came in, because I love slasher films, but slasher films to me aren't very scary. I watch Friday the 13th and root for Jason like any sane person would. Now you have the twist near the end of the game, which I won't spoil since the game is still relatively new, even though you've probably watched countless YouTubers, myself included, play through the entire game. And that was it was alright, but the characters is what really drew me into it, like I said. The characters are so well written, their mannerisms are so well done, the graphics are so great, that you start to care about these characters like they're real people, to the point to where when you're playing the game, you're scared to do anything, you're on the edge of your seat because you don't want to kill off one of your favorite characters. Conversely, if you have a character that you hate, you're trying to do anything in your power to get that person out of your game. So yes, while the game did have a bunch of gore and really creepy moments that shocked me while I was playing it, that simple fact, the simple fact that you care about somebody enough that you don't want to lose them, that's what kept me going in this game. Any knee-jerk decision that the game forces you to make could end the lives of one of your favorite characters. And if you watched Zero Gaming's playthrough of it, you'll see that we didn't do a very good job of preserving the lives of our favorite characters. And again, I sincerely apologize, Chris. 7. Stepping away from survival horror a bit, and I know that Until Dawn's not technically survival horror, but it was a good segue, so please shut up and stop judging me. The F.e.a.r. games were all really good. And now I know that I've mentioned games like The Darkness as not being conventionally horror games in my opinion due to the fact that you can just run and gun through your enemies, and I still stand by that because the F.e.a.r. games still had the creepy atmosphere and a truly creepy story. I can honestly liken it to Silent Hill. You have Alma and Alessa, both truly gifted mediums in their own right, who both have a deep-seated hatred due to any sort of experiments or mistreatment done to them as children, and they're both the core root of any sort of scary paranormal goings-on in both games. The only difference is Alma ages throughout the games and Alessa really doesn't. And like I said, all of the games are great. 3 had a really good co-op system, but 2 stood out to me due to its story. Because in 2, you weren't the point man, you weren't part of the F.e.a.r. team. You were a Delta Force operator, sent in 30 minutes before the climax of the first game. So you're not as mentally prepared for the paranormal goings-on as the F.e.a.r. team, you're just a soldier sent in to clean up someone's mess. And also, near the end, you get raped by the spirit of a vengeful psychic ghost woman so she can bury your child so she can feel the love that she never got from her father. So boil it down to brass tacks, ghost girls just need a hug and to be told that they're pretty. So remember that next time you're in the middle of a haunting. 6. But Zero, you ask? You spent so much time bitching about early access Steam games that it hurts. And I remember that, because I watch my own videos, because I'm just that narcissistic. However, I do recall actually telling you people during that rant that I love The Forest, because The Forest does what those other games didn't. The Forest is really good at being scary. The Forest is a really good game. Now I said scary. It's not creepy. It doesn't have a creepy atmosphere. It's not full of ghosts and monsters and all of that happy stuff. It's scary. It's scary like I need to conquer this forest. I need to man up or I'm going to be murdered by what's in this forest. I need to survive. It takes you down to the bare roots of human survival. That's scary. Even with friends, it's still horrifying to trek through the forest in the dark without any weapons. Even with weapons and friends and armor and everything else, it's still horrifying when the sun goes down to trek in the forest. So if you're one of the few people that haven't played this game before, allow me to break it down for you. Old school. You're on a plane, and the plane crashes in a forest. You're the sole survivor of this plane crash. The other passengers were either killed or taken away by a bunch of mutant cannibals. This includes your son. So not only is it up to you to just survive in this forest, to build a cabin, to collect food, to build weapons, to fend off the mutants, to fight these mutants, and hopefully, again, just survive in this forest, you have to also collect information on the missing passengers, hopefully find your son, and find out whatever the hell is going on in this forest. By yourself or with friends. Either way, it's a lot of stress we put on 1 or 3 or 4 people. Because you're not just some military person, you're not some overqualified person like in some games. You're just a dude who has a survival book, and that's it. And you have to use your wits to survive in the forest. Exploring in caves can be terrifying, going into the forest at night can be terrifying, you can be outnumbered quickly, no matter what weapons you have, you can be killed, lose all of your stuff, and respawn back at the plane with nothing. Again, it's just bare bones, brass tacks horror. It, again, takes you back to the bare roots of human survival. And you can go anywhere on this island once you leave the plane due to this game's beautifully rendered sandbox environment. But food and shelter is a must. If you don't have those basic essentials, you will die in the first night. So in all honesty, you can take a good horror movie, mix it with Lost, and mix it with Minecraft if Minecraft didn't suck, and there you have the forest. And the best part about this game being in pre-alpha is the game is good already, it just keeps getting better. The worst part about this game is once a big update rolls around, you might lose your save game, but you just have to start from the beginning. Tough luck, soldier. 5. Now it's been noted before on other videos that I'm not a huge fan of what I call hide-and-seek games. Penumbra and Amnesia were okay at best, but the numerous spin-offs of those games and even the sequels to those games, garbage. I understand, again, that being alone in an environment with scary ghosts or scary monsters can be terrifying because you can't fight them off. All you can do is hide and they can find you. Wash, rinse, repeat. But the story in those games, that's what really carries those games. If you don't have any other mechanics but a story, you need a really good story. And even the subsequent games made by the people who made Penumbra and Amnesia weren't that good. Outlast, on the other hand, was amazing, including the DLC. Because this is only scary for so long. But these are pretty scary. Bloodthirsty psychopaths chasing after you to do God knows what. That's real. That's terrifying. Not to mention the entire game was just disturbing. It left you feeling dirty as you played it. I mean, just going through the game and seeing what's going on in the asylum, you have rape, necrophilia, cannibalism, disturbing religious undertones, spooky psychic ghosts, shady government organizations experimenting on the mentally ill, all wrapped up in a neat stormy asylum on top of a mountain in Colorado. I mean, what more could you ask for? I would honestly take being trapped in a haunted mansion one night than spending 3 hours in Mount Massive Asylum. The latter seems more terrifying to me. I mean, you could be running from this, or running from this, or having to deal with this. I'll take the haunted mansion any day. 4. Who all remembers the good old days of the Super Nintendo? Rescuing Princess Peach and then inviting her and all of your friends to a go-kart race? Rescuing Princess Zelda? Hanging out with Diddy Kong and eating bananas and jumping around in barrels? Fighting crime with your twin brother on the streets of New York? Fighting crime with your frog friends on the streets of space? Running around from a small deformed man with a giant pair of scissors who's trying to kill you for no reason. What? Oh, that last part doesn't ring a bell? Oh, I'm sorry, because repressed memories are a terrible thing. You should really try to get that worked on. This was a point-and-click style, side-scrolling nightmare ride through a creepy mansion full of creepy people. While the randomly generated scares and ruins will definitely get the blood flowing and keep you on the edge of your seat, the best part comes from you can't fight old Billy the Scissor Man, you can run, and you can hide. And now I know that I just got through saying that those are boring, but this is different. You have a sanity meter, but you're still talking about Amnesia. I know, but this was first. You have a sanity meter, And the more just weird and horrible things that your character sees, the less likely she is to be able to escape properly, or hide properly, or use certain items in certain rooms. And that's really the core mechanics of this game, is running, hiding, and using items. It's survival horror at its bare bones. The whole story is basically you're an orphan, adopted by a creepy widow who has a creepy son, an even creepier son, in this creepy mansion, and the one creepy son is trying to kill you with a giant pair of scissors while you try to uncover the mystery of this mansion. And all of that's just nestled right there to your closest, most dearest childhood memories. And who says Nintendo just makes little kid games? Now, there's not a whole lot that I can say about this game that hasn't been said already. A demo, or teaser, for a Silent Hill game to be made by the greatest game director of all time, fact, Hideo Kojima. Also, with help from the greatest character designer and one of the greatest directors of all time, fact, Guillermo del Toro, and starring one of the coolest actors ever, Norman Reedus. The game was just amazing for what it was. You have the Fox engine, the shading was beautiful, the landscape was beautiful, the story was just beyond terrifying, the ghost was beyond terrifying. And to be honest, this is on this list for 3 reasons. 1, the game was just beautiful and amazing. 2, no matter how hard they try to keep a secret what they've taken away from us, I want to be one of the few, the proud, the many, yelling from the rooftops that PT was a thing, that Silent Hills was a thing, and we will never forget what you've done to us. And 3, I just want another excuse to say f*** you Konami in a video. All that, and also because it was the only game on this list to scare me, to literally scare me in broad daylight. I had nightmares about the ghost for nights after I played the game. It was just genuinely scary. It is one of the few games that was just genuinely scary, and I loved it, and I just hate the fact that it was taken from us. There will be many, many, many developers that try to capture the glory that was PT, but they'll all fail. They will never be PT, they will never be Silent Hills. I just hope that Kojima's new company makes something just remotely close to what we could have had. I just need a moment of silence, guys, I can't. Okay, now, what is the best place for a Japanese schoolgirl armed with a camera to be? If you answered a super creepy haunted house, I don't know why you would answer. Why would people answer that? But yeah, that's Fatal Frame, everybody. In Fatal Frame, you're investigating a strange ritual that took place on the outskirts of Tokyo. Most games have you fighting what's chasing you with a blunt weapon or a firearm, or having you run to, live to fight another day. Other games just strictly have you run and record what's going on and hide from the enemy. Fatal Frame would have you exorcise the most malevolent ghost with a camera that can do just that. All I'm trying to say here is that Miku Hanasaki is way more badass than Chris Redfield. Braver and cooler too. You can put your guns away because you don't fight zombies with a camera, Chris. Now, the game was marketed in the West as being based on the true story of the Himuro Mansion hauntings. The Himuro Mansion is a mansion that's located on the outskirts of Tokyo. Nobody knows its true location, and it is said to be the site of one of the most gruesome murders in modern Japanese history. Now go Google it, because I ain't no history teacher. Now, while that's more than likely not true, that does not water down the game experience at all. Because you have a very well-written story, super creepy atmosphere, that's the stuff just nightmares are made out of. Suicide ghost, malevolent spirits you have to exorcise, again with only a camera. Just one of the best, just core Japanese horror games. The game is so Japanese that I'm pretty sure it would eat its chicken raw if need be. It's just horrifying and disturbing, and just Japan, I don't know what's going on over there with your suicide forest and your haunted mansions and your ghost cameras, and again, I don't know whether to envy you or to feel sorry for you. All I know is just don't let it get to you guys, but keep giving us these games. Just keep giving us good things, but don't hurt yourselves. Just be safe for me. Number 1 was the hardest for me to put on this list, because it's hard for me out of the first 5 Silent Hill games to rank the best one. And I do have to make a redaction from my last list. I did say something negative about Silent Hill Origins. I did actually have the privilege of replaying that one, and it's good. Again, compared to Downpour and Homecoming and Book of Memories. It's a pretty good game, so if you have a PSP, play it. Don't play it on the PS2, play it on the PSP. Portable Silent Hill, dark headphones that scare, whatever. Anyway, even though Silent Hill 1 is the precursor, and even though Silent Hill 2 is considered the best Silent Hill to date, and Shattered Memories is the best horror game on the Wii, and possibly the only reason to own a Wii, if you have a Wii, pick it up and play it, because it's fun, it's really good, it's just a reimagining of one. I'm going off. Regardless, Silent Hill 4 is hands down my favorite. Silent Hill 4, in my opinion, is the best Silent Hill game ever made. It will always be my favorite, and again, in my opinion, it's probably the scariest game they have, aside from PT. And I know I said that I'm only doing one game per series, but since Silent Hills was cancelled, PT is its own game. This is my channel, I can make up my own rules. It's fun working for myself. But going back to that, it's really sad to me that this game was so crapped on when it first came out as not being a traditional Silent Hill game, because it doesn't necessarily take place in Silent Hill. I don't know why I have so many quotation marks, but whatever, because this is quite possibly the scariest game they have. Imagine moving into a new apartment by yourself, only to wake up a few days later to find out that you can't leave your apartment because the apartment was chained up from the inside. And nobody can hear you on the outside, and all of your contact with the outside world is cut off. You can only look out your windows and the people. That sole mechanic, to this day, is still in the back of my head. When I'm here by myself, I still have nightmares of being trapped inside a place, and I can't get out, and nobody can hear me, nobody can help me. That has resonated with me from the time I played this to now. That's got to be at least 10 years. But if that's not bad enough, sooner or later, your apartment's going to start becoming possessed as you explore Silent Hill, which you can access through the mysterious hole that you have to crawl through in your bathroom. Because your apartment is being haunted by the ghost of a cult serial killer performing ritualistic murders in order to cleanse the apartment whom he thinks is his mother. Haven't got you yet? Well, you have a heart of stone. There are 3 memories when I talk about Silent Hill 4 that will always resonate with me. The first is just the crushing loneliness from being trapped in your apartment. I just imagine that for a second. Imagine being trapped somewhere and nobody can get you out and you can't call for help. The second would be Eileen's giant head in the hospital world, with her eyes following you wherever you go, and just the veins and just the wheelchairs, and the third, of course, would be Walter Sullivan's decomposing corpse just hiding in your laundry room that you have to access to get to the portal to kill Walter to cleanse your apartment. That was just pure nightmare fuel when I was younger. Also, honorable mention would be this. Whew. Anyway, so for all the crap that 4 got when it was released, in all honesty, compared to what they're coming out with now, and even compared to the other ones, it's the best, in my opinion. It was the scariest. It is honestly just the best Silent Hill game next to 2. Oh, but wait, never mind, I'm lying, because Silent Hill 4 doesn't have Pyramid Head. Never mind! So there you have it. Those are my favorite horror games. What did you think of my list? Were there any games that I left out, or did you agree with it? If you have any games that you would have added to the list, let me know in the comment section below. And be sure to crush that like button for me, will you? Also, if you check my description, you'll see a code for tblocks.com. It'll net you 15% off your first month subscription to their service. They're a really amazing company. You get awesome stuff from them monthly, so definitely check that out. And if you liked my video, be sure to share this video around and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more content from me. And as always, friends, thank you so much for watching, and I invite you to follow me next time into the other side.